And our next speaker is Ilpo Kojola, is that correct?
Yes.
That's good enough. From the Natural Resources Institute in Finland, and I've been told if you want to know something about terrestrial carnivores in Finland, that's the man to go to.
Okay. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for organizers inviting me to talk about large carnivore issues. Yeah. Okay, good. Yep. Yeah, my title of my topic is development of welfare-friendly follow-up methods in large carnivores, and I will focus mostly on wolves and wolverines, and will tell about how we have been monitoring them and how we are thinking about to develop our monitoring methods with this species to take account these welfare aspects. Large carnivores, as you well know, they are very interesting species because they basically would be charismatic and important components of ecosystem and food chain. And they are conflict with some human interests activities like reindeer husbandry, hunting with hunting dogs, and so on. Especially it's concerned wolves and wolf attacks on hunting dogs. And now they have been rebounding many European countries during the last decades, sorry. And what is important is that they are rare, they are very mobile, and they make a very big challenge to monitoring programs. And so-called non-invasive methods, especially genetics, camera traps, and so on, they are more or less comprehensive routing now in other Nordic countries. And in Finland, we are on steps, but we are mostly at studying to do that, to follow up the Norwegian and Swedish methodology. The maps. If you are comparing the maps describing the large carnivore distribution 50 years ago to quite recent one, you can see that the distribution range have been multiplying, and actually the numbers also have been multiplying, and large carnivores, especially wolves, has been expanding to quite human-dominated landscapes in Europe. So the situation is really different. That makes these species very focused by management and research and monitoring as well. We had to understand more about them. We had to think how to monitor them cost efficient and friendly way. In Finland, we have two groups of large carnivores. The population of Eurasian lynx and brown bear has been increasing quite nicely, and they are doing well. Very different from the wolf and wolverine. That still are highly endangered species. Wolves in Finland have been they are distributed south from the reindeer husbandry area, and in that area they have western and eastern distribution, so that in eastern Finland the packs and territory marking pairs are mostly located close to Russian border, and in western Finland close to Botnian Bay. And these are our study area. We have made a lot of wolf research by coloring them. More or less the same number as in Sweden, and we just started the same year, 1998. We have colored 200 volts so far, and in first years we looped them from snowmobiles, and during last years we have been darting them from helicopter, and so far our capture modality has been 0.5. It means that we have lost one wolf during capture treatment operation. So far it's very low. I think that it's the lowest I have seen on comparing the other big wolf projects. There have been normally between 2, 3, up to 4%. Yeah. And the collar is GPS collar weight about 700 grams. It is about 2% of the body weight of wolves. And why we have been colored wolves? First, we need movement data for population monitoring. We have studied dispersal and migration routes. We have made predation studies. We have examined wolf visitations, close human residencies. So we have investigated moving patterns, habitat preferences, and also illegal killing of wolves. The analysis is based on the fate of marked wolves, and it has been a very important topic because illegal killing, not only in Finland but also in Sweden, has been maybe the most important driver of population size. And we have also studied wolf attacks on hunting dogs. Then we have made a deal with the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, and we try to help hunters with hunting dogs to decrease the risk of wolf attacks on their dogs. We have established a public link where the last location of GPS collared wolves is announced at 5 kilometer precision. It's very popular, but it's not giving complete help, but it's decreasing the risk. Yeah. So that's we have made analysis about that. But of course, there has some things which are replaceable by other methods, like genetic monitoring, especially population monitoring. We don't need that much of coloring for population monitoring, and dispersal from where to where wolves have moved. We can track by genetic analysis using genetic pedigree if we can construct of pedigree in future. This is an example of how the wolves from Finland and Russia, Finnish Russian population, has been moved to Scandinavia, and is based on genetic analysis, genetic profiles, because there exists a more complete pedigree for the Scandinavian wolf population. That makes it possible. These red dots are indicating the kill sites where the wolf has been killed, because most of them have been killed in reindeer husbandry area of Sweden or Norway. And some of them, very few of them, have been successful, so that they have been able to move south in the breeding population of Scandinavia, and a couple 6 years ago was actually translocated from close to Finnish border to south to help in breeding depression of this exists for in Scandinavia. And genetic data for bears have shown, for example, that the genetic viability of Finland's bear population have been increasing clearly and rapidly during last decades. Because the only reason can be for that is that there is quite vivid my immigration from Russia. But we started to take genetic non-invasive monitoring some years ago, and with wolves. Our wolf population monitoring is based on multiple databases, point observations coming from voluntary networks of people, and mostly we focused on observations concerning packs or pairs, and then we still have GPS territories, 11 for in last winter, and then these genetic samples and mortality. They form our databases for population estimates of wolves. And last years, the proportion of wolf territories where we have been doing genetic monitoring has been increasing, but it is not complete. But we are now starting up a live project, which is for next 5 years, where our aim is to get complete, more or less comprehensive number of litters born in Finland annually. The problem now is the northern Finland, the reindeer husband area, because there's very few people here recording observations, uploading observations, and so our knowledge about the large carnivore populations there is based mostly on the damages, how many and where different large carnivores are reported to kill reindeer. But we really hope that we could get more high coverage on point observations, and one way to start up genetic monitoring, especially with brown bear. With wolverine, we have had a pilot project. So formally, we have based on our wolverine estimates of wildlife triangle, winter transit counts, but we have an area where we have hare snacks. These hare snacks are quite simple. There's a cheddar of some cheddars of steel brass there and a bait. And when a wolverine comes there, he or she had to lose some hair for genetic analysis. And these are 33 hare snacks located in eastern and central Finland for 2 winters, and we got more than 200 samples and quite high success rate, 80%, and 65 wolverines exist there. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you very much. That leaves us a little bit room for a couple of questions. Anyone?
Please.
Well, I have a question then.
Thank you.
You mentioned when you're talking about wolves that you thought that illegal killing had an impact
Yeah.
on the population.
Yeah.
Have you any estimates of the size of the illegal killing?
It's very hard to give numbers, exact numbers, how many are killed, for example, but some level. And our analysis was based on the connection between the fate of radio-collared wolves and the population fluctuation. They were correlating very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a question down there.
So, Ilpo, I would like to know why the color system is well done in eastern Finland and why this system haven't spread to the western part of our country.
It is because it's so much bureaucracy, and we need to have, for example, land ownership permits to do that. And in Western Finland, most lands are private owned and quite small areas. And if there's some who don't give us a permit, we cannot go to operate there. Yeah. We need large unified areas. Yeah.
Okay, shortly, little continue, because actually you can see the wolves are now coming from east to west, and the future, maybe the new areas are here in west and south also. So how important you consider this, that we could collard these wolves?
For sure, it's very important to understand, for example, more how wolves who are living in human-dominated landscapes, how they are moving, how they are using human infrastructure and so on, small roads, and how often they visit people's housyards and so on. And another question is, of course, how important is that very abundant white-tailed deer for the wolves? Because for me, it seems so that southwestern Finland, where we now have more than 100,000 wild-tailed deer, it is quite few damages. For example, livestock damages are very, very little. To some extent, it's like mitigating human-wolf conflict, this exotic American deer, which is quite a special situation. Yeah. But of course, the problem, because it's this very high, this higher human densities, the problem is more close contacts with humans and wolves, and that's.
So the collar is very important in this case, and also I understand that dog owners, it's also their benefit that as much as possible you have started a project which is about 5 million, I understood, and doesn't mean also that these collars in future we are going to see more in south and in
they should, and the collar should be more functional for that purpose, because they are not basically made for helping hunters. They are made for studying wolves. And,
Okay, thank you very much. I saw a few other fingers down there, but I don't think we have any more time. I'm sure you will be here after the session, so there will be possibility to discuss that with Ilpo. Thank you very much.